Welcome to Canada Newsline, where we break down the stories shaping this nation's future. Today, the pressure on Canada's auto industry has reached a level we haven't seen in decades. Factories are slowing down, communities are anxious, and at the center of it all, the same familiar pressure coming from Washington. President Donald Trump's administration has been tightening its grip on North America's auto supply chain, pulling production away from Canada and driving it back into the United States. But just when it seemed Canada was running out of options, Prime Minister Mark Carney delivered his most confident message yet. With calm precision, Carney hinted that a major economic shift could soon be on the horizon, one that might redefine Canada's future and alter the balance of power between Ottawa, Washington, and Beijing. For the first time, Carney didn't sound like a leader reacting to U.S. pressure. He sounded like one preparing to outmaneuver it. And if his words today are any indication, Trump's auto strategy may be closer to collapsing than anyone expected.
Debate over the future of Stellantis in Canada in the House of Commons this afternoon as the Carney government is being urged by the opposition to release contracts. The feds have said they are considering legal action if the automaker doesn't keep its commitment to its Brampton plant after moving production of the Jeep Compass to the United States. Meanwhile, on the trade front, the feds are hopeful to have some movement on steel and aluminum tariffs this week ahead of the Prime Minister's trip to Asia. Let's bring back our front bench, Brian Gallant, Lisa Ray, Tom Mulcair, and Rob Benzie. Lisa, I will start with you on this one. What are your thoughts on how transparent the government in this moment needs to be about whatever arrangement exists with Stellantis?
I think the government has to be very, very careful, because if you think this is the last one we're going to encounter, then you are kidding yourself. Donald Trump has made it extremely clear that he does not believe that any car should be assembled in Canada, especially ones that are being sold into the United States. He's made it clear not only to us as a country, he's made it clear to the auto parts manufacturers and to the auto assemblers as well. And they're responding. They're moving their production to the United States. And I don't see any stoppage of that. I see a lot of concern about it. I think that makes a lot of sense. But at the end of the day, it's a train that's moving in one direction fairly fast. So to say this, it's tough for a minister to stand up and say that we're going to guarantee that every job is going to stay here.
Let's look at what's really happening behind closed doors. Donald Trump's commerce team is quietly working to reel back every remaining auto production line into the United States. His commerce secretary hasn't minced words. America's auto industry comes first, even if that means upending supply chains that have held strong for decades. And for now, the strategy seems to be gaining ground. The recent decision by Stellantis to shift part of its production south has dealt Canada a blow, not just economically, but symbolically. It sends a message. Washington no longer views Canada as a trusted partner in growth, but as a rival to weaken, right here on Canadian soil. That decision triggered immediate backlash in Parliament, in powerful auto unions, and in every province that relies on manufacturing to survive. Industry analysts were blunt. Canada's industrial core is under siege. But here's what sets this moment apart. Mark Carney didn't flinch. He didn't respond with outrage. He didn't escalate with threats. Instead, he stayed the course on something far bigger. Something he's been quietly building behind the scenes, a move that could shift the entire game.
What's happening, of course, is there's a guy named Donald Trump and his sidekick, Howard Lutnick, who've upset the world order on trade. So we've got to start reacting differently. BC, forestry, huge industry, they'll make it through. It's going to be tough, they'll make it through. Quebec, aluminum, huge industry. They'll make it through. The Americans don't have enough aluminum. They'll make it through. I'm with Lisa on this one. Automakers, the automobile manufacturing sector as a whole is so huge to the Canadian economy. If it continues like this, that will have a determining effect on all of the country. And, one plant in one city, 3,000 direct jobs, 3,000 families without a livelihood potentially, but then everything else in a ripple effect, all the indirect jobs. That's one factory, and there are many. So it is a huge concern. as they're negotiating right now in the United States. This has to be top of mind. But it wasn't. Lutnick was directly saying, Lisa's right, her quote is right. Lutnick is clear as a bell. They're going after the Canadian automobile industry as a whole. And I think we've got to be lucid about what that means to us. We keep talking about Trump and the effect of this. This is huge. This is the big one. Automobile is the big one. And I think that, yeah, you're right, Vashti. I mean, let's hope that there's something in the budget. But let's hope that there's not something in the budget that goes back to the old game of the government trying to pick who the winners are in a free market. That's been proven to be a huge mistake. Benzie was talking about the plants that are still on tap in Ontario for the electric vehicles. I hope that turns out to be true. But it goes back to an interview you had, Vashti, with the Chinese ambassador. Why are we still imposing 100% tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles to please the Americans when they're doing their darndest to destroy our automobile industry? I haven't heard a convincing answer to that one yet.
And I'll leave it on that question. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate the discussion. Our wonderful Monday front bench, Brian Gallant, Lisa Raitt, Tom Mulcair, and Rob Benzie.
Then came the moment that shifted the entire conversation. During a podcast interview, Carney was asked directly about China and Canada's steep 100% tariff on Chinese electric vehicles. For months, Ottawa had stood shoulder to shoulder with Washington on this issue, matching the American stance and echoing U.S. concerns over Chinese EVs. But today, Carney's tone shifted. He wasn't defensive. He wasn't evasive. He was strategic. He calmly acknowledged the mounting pressure on Canada's auto sector. But then, with a measured smile, he cracked open a door that many thought was firmly shut. Whether it's Chinese EVs, Canadian agricultural products, or broader trade opportunities, he said, we're going to see broader trade with China, and that will be good for Canada. Those few words sent shockwaves through political and diplomatic circles, because that wasn't just a policy response, it was a warning. Carney was making something very clear to Washington. Canada doesn't need to keep playing by U.S. rules. If America wants to wall off its markets, Canada has other doors it's ready to open.
About Chinese EVs.
And, well, with respect to Chinese EVs, there are a variety of issues to consider. One of them is the impact on our domestic auto industry at a time when it's under pressure because of American tariffs. But it's also a question of our broader trade relationship with China. And if I, again, can provide some context, China is our second largest trading partner. We have, as a country, for good reason, have not had dialogue with the Chinese for a number of years. We are restarting that dialogue, that partnership. As we speak today, our foreign minister is in China. I met with the Chinese prime minister a few weeks ago. It's likely I'll meet with the Chinese president in due course. And whether it's Chinese EV, Canadian agricultural products, other opportunities for trade, I believe that we are going to see a much broader trade with China, which will be good for Canada. We'll do this in a responsible way. It'll lessen our dependence on the United States, but we have to do it in a smart way to finish, again, back to your question, in a way that ensures that our auto sector, which is under pressure because of American tariffs, has a chance to adjust and become stronger itself.
Carney's remarks weren't casual. They were calculated. This wasn't just a comment about Chinese EVs. It was a strategic move on a geopolitical chessboard. If Trump's tariffs are designed to isolate Canada, Carney just revealed his counter, opened the door to Chinese electric vehicles. And if that happens, if low-cost, high-quality Chinese EVs begin entering Canadian showrooms, it won't just shift the auto market, it will strike at the heart of the U.S. manufacturing base. It would be a direct hit to Trump's America First policy, hurting U.S. producers while giving Canadians more affordable access to clean, cutting-edge technology. That's not politics, that's precision. Analysts are calling it Carney's perfect counterpunch, and even easing Chinese tariffs gives him a double advantage, leverage in upcoming trade talks with both Washington and Beijing. The message is clear. Canada won't be boxed in, not by tariffs, not by threats, not by Trump. Because this isn't just about cars, it's about control, it's about sovereignty. For too long, Canada's economic future has been shackled to decisions made in Washington. Now, Carney is changing that, diversifying trade, rebuilding global alliances, and opening new channels of growth. China's ambassador has already made a bold offer. Remove the EV tariff, and they'll lift the restrictions on Canadian canola. That's billions in potential revenue, and it could be just the beginning. What we're witnessing isn't just an economic adjustment, it's a realignment. Carney is positioning Canada between two global giants, but beholden to neither. This was Carney at his sharpest, calm, focused, and completely in control. A quiet warning to Trump: Canada isn't just bracing for this storm, it's getting ready to win. And if today's signals are any indication, we're on the verge of a massive policy shift, one that brings cheaper EVs to Canadian families, reclaimed lost markets for our farmers, and ends the notion that Ottawa answers to Washington. Trump made the first move. Carney's about to make the last. So stay tuned, because this story is just getting started. And before we go, thank you for being a part of Canada Newsline. Your support powers every story we tell. Stories about leadership, resilience, and a country that refuses to bow. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Join the community, because this is Canada's moment, and you won't want to miss it.